Hi everyone, as I promised to you a little late, but at least I have the video all set up for you, looking at writing effective negative messages. Now, last week or 2 weeks ago, we had worked with positive messages. Not so much positive messages, but rectifying an error that was made. Remember, we gave them alternatives. This is pretty much the same thing. Now, no one wants to receive bad news. We know that. So how can we couch bad news in a better way? So if you take a look at this, all of this information comes from the PowerPoint that's in your assignment, okay? So we start with a buffer, a neutral or positive opening that does not reveal the bad news. This is different from revealing good news. Right away, you want to tell people good news. Congratulations, you've won a scholarship, or we welcome you've been accepted into Phi Theta Kappa or whatever. But you don't want to start anything by telling anybody you can't, we can't, you won't. That's what I mean by negative. An explanation for the causes of the bad news. All right, be very careful with this. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. A clear but understated announcement of the bad news that may include an alternative or compromise. Now, this should not be may include. You have to include. Never tell anybody no without giving an alternative. You never tell your children, no, you can't do this. You usually tell them, well, let's take a look at something else that we can do instead of what you want. All right. Or you could have done this a lot better if you had done this, that, and the other thing. We want to talk in terms of positive action. If you cannot give a donation, if you cannot be at a conference, explain or give an alternative. If you have been invited to make a presentation at a conference, a student conference, and you can't go, then you suggest somebody else. You see what I'm saying, where I'm going with this? Never just say no. What can you do? And never say no in a letter. All right, never do that. And a personalized, forward-looking, pleasant statement. That's your closing. All right, so let's take a look at each one of these. Okay, if we take a look at, start with the part of the message that represents the best news. So start out with something positive. Pay a compliment, show appreciation for a past action, or refer to something mutually. Avoid raising false hopes or thanking the receiver for something you are about to refuse. All right, don't be Pollyannic, pie in the sky. Consider apologizing if you or your company made a mistake. If you apologize, do so sincerely and take responsibility. That's one of the reasons I'm successful with some of the things that I do at the college, because I assume responsibility. If something is wrong, I go after and find out what it is that's wrong rather than blaming somebody else. That is never acceptable, blaming somebody else. Too often we see that in government. We see that in our in agencies that we go to, Social Security, veterans, wherever. It's always somebody else's fault. Take the responsibility, particularly all of you who are planning to be managers. All right? Present the reasons. Explain clearly why the request must be denied without revealing the refusal. Don't have to air out your personal laundry or the company laundry as to why you're refusing. All right? There's a reason. But your client or your customer doesn't have to know all of the behind the scenes. That's none of his or her business. Show how your decision benefits the receiver or others if possible, especially when you're going to offer an alternative. Explain company policy without using it as an excuse. That's the point. Think of yourselves when you go to one of the federal agencies or state or city agencies, whether it's the Department of Education, whether it's veterans, whether it's social service, whatever it is. Think of how you feel when somebody tells you, when they start rattling off all of this stuff. That is not what you want to do. Remember, you want to hold on to a client. You want to hold on to a customer. Most of you want to have your own business. Start thinking in terms of keeping your business relationships, keeping your customers. This is very, very important. All right? Choose positive words. Avoid negative words. These are the same words I keep telling you all the time in your letters and in your writing. Avoid negative words. I try as hard as I possibly can to avoid negative words, and also trying to avoid giving you negative messages. Everything that I say to you should be positive. Even when I'm yelling and screaming at you, because I know that you can do better work than what you're doing. So that's what I want you to think about, ladies and gentlemen. Thinking in terms, and remember, we talked about all types of communication, not just written. So when you're thinking about sending negative messages, or you want your children to refrain from doing something negative, put something positive. Let them know how good they are. And they are good. They're your children. They can't be bad. Let them know how good they are. They did something that you disapprove of, or is not going to be effective for them when they get older. You don't have to explain all of that to them if they're 3 and 4. But the point is, give them an alternative. All right. And show that this matter was treated seriously and fairly. Okay, so this was not off the top of your head. Always show commitment to your customers. Always show commitment to your clients. Always show commitment to your coworkers and those of you who are going to be managers, which is everybody in this class. Make sure that you are showing commitment to your colleagues for whom you supervise. All right. Consider positioning the bad news strategically by sandwiching it between other sentences. Although another commitment that day prevents me from attending, I wish you well. No. Although I am prevented from attending because of another commitment that day, I suggest, or I am going to notify. Again, make sure that you have an alternative. And then closing pleasantly. All right, closing pleasantly. Accentuate the positive. Always stress the positive by describing what you can do, not what you can't do. Never talk about what you cannot do. Really, the only thing you can't do is rise from the dead. So everything else you can do. Consider implying the refusal, but be certain it is clear. Suggest a compromise or an alternative if one exists. And for your closing, look forward to future relations. Supply more information about an alternative if one is offered, since one will offer good wishes, compliments, or freebies, coupons, samples, etc. Avoid referring to the refusal. Use resale or sales promotion if possible or appropriate. All right? Very important. You learned that before, so this closing is not something new to you. All right, but what is new to you is taking something that's negative and making it positive. Consider, if you cannot give money, if you cannot make a presentation, if you cannot be someplace, give an alternative. Never just say, sorry, I can't do it. That's totally useless. All right? That is totally bureaucratic. Each and every one of us hates, including myself when I go to Social Security. Damage control, dealing with disappointed customers. Call the individual involved, describe the problem, and apologize. Remember that situation in Chapter 8 when we had the broken vase? Why the problem occurred, what you're doing to resolve it, how you will prevent it from happening again. Follow up with a letter that documents the phone call if you're calling and promotes goodwill. That is the idea. All of you who are in business, and that includes my office technology students who are administrative assistants. Remember goodwill in accounting? There is a category for goodwill in accounting, and it's seen as an accounting item. So goodwill is very important because you want to keep your customer, you want to keep your client. Just because you're learning by working for others, eventually you're going to want to have your own business. And this is what you have to think about. So what you're doing in your training and working for other people, keep that in mind when you are ready to open up your own business, if you don't already have your own business. So these are techniques that are very, very important. All right, now let's take a look at this letter. Dear Miss Trumbull, looks almost like Trump. We regret to inform you, already look at that, we regret to inform you that we cannot allow you to convert the lease payments you have been making on Canon, all of that stuff, towards this purchase, much as we would love to do so. Totally. If you're sitting down here, love, don't use love in business. This is a church word. None of that nonsense. We understand that you have been making regular payments for the past 16 months. Yeah? So what's that got to do with it? Our established company policy prohibits. Look at all of these negative words. Regret, prohibit, cannot. Perhaps you have noticed that we offer extremely low leasing and purchase prices. Yeah, so obviously these low prices would never be possible. Look at another one. If we agree to many proposals such as yours, already demeaning the customer. Because we are striving to stay in business, aren't we all? We cannot, another negative word, agree to your request, asking us to convert all 16 months of rental payments toward the purchase of our popular new equipment. It is our understanding, Ms. Trumbo, that you have had the Canon for 16 months and you claim that it has been reliable and versatile. We would like to tell you about another Canon model, one that is perhaps closer to your limited budget. That's very demeaning. Not even saying thank you and all of this other stuff. All right? These next two slides talk about critical thinking questions. What is the purpose of the letter on the previous slide? What goals should the sender have? What prevents this letter from achieving those goals? The idea is to make sure that you tell the customer, we can't do this for you, but look at what we can do. That's what you're looking at. What pattern of development would work best for this letter? Is that pattern what you see? No, of course not. What idea could serve as a buffer? Write a buffer. You're going to be doing, you'll see all of this later. Okay, I'm not going through this, but I just think it's important for you to see the after. Dear Miss Trumbo, we're happy to learn, should not have a contraction in a formal business letter. It should be, we are happy to learn that you are enjoying the use of the whatever you have been leasing for the last 16 months. See what's there? Or you could have also said, thank you for enjoying our product, or I'm glad that you enjoy our product. All of that is very good. Look at the positive. Like our many customers, Ms. Trumbo, you have discovered that Canon copiers supply remarkable versatility and reliability. Nice. One of the reasons we are able to offer these outstanding copiers at such low leasing rates and equally low purchase prices is that we maintain a slim profit margin. Now, again, that might not mean anything to your customer. Slim profit margin. That might not mean anything. I would suggest rewriting that if I were correcting this paper, because I would not use slim profit margin. That means nothing to the customer. If our program included a provision for applying lease payments towards purchase price, our overall prices would have to be higher. Although lease payments cannot be credited towards purchase price, we can offer. Now you see, look at this. Although lease payments cannot be credited, that's a negative word. Get rid of all of that. We can offer you other Canon models that are within your price range. That's what the customer wants to hear. The Canon 600 delivers the same Casio. Please let us demonstrate to your staff in our office. See, that's the alternative. That's what you want to get to the meat and potatoes of. All right. So you can't do. I hesitate writing all of those other sentences, but be that as it may, the idea is that we can offer you other Canon models that are within your price range, such as the Canon 600, which delivers the same reliability. That makes more sense. This is a little too wordy, this letter itself, anyway. All right? But you see where I'm going with this, ladies and gentlemen? I think it's very, very important for you to understand that you never, two things that you don't do. Never start a letter or an email saying, I can't, or I'm sorry. The second thing that you do, all right, the second thing that you never do is just say no and not give an alternative. You must give an alternative. The situation that you have for homework, the homework assignment, that's refusing a nonprofit organization a certain amount of money because the company's the company's sales did not were not high enough for them to offer the $1,000. All right. So stop and think, ladies and gentlemen. What can you do? Look at that scenario in your assignment. Look at it very carefully and see how you're going to respond to that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And the other thing that I want you to think about, all right, so please, if you still have trouble with this, review the chapter, because the chapter goes into more detail, obviously, than these PowerPoint slides. All right, and I just wanted to make sure that you had a direction, because we're not in class. Usually in class, we write a sentence or we write an idea, and then we go over this. Obviously, we're not in class. We didn't have the in-class assignment. So think very carefully about how the tone, the you attitude, this very clearly shows a you attitude, and what are you going to do for the customer? Always, what are you going to do for the customer that's realistic? Okay, that's what you need to think about. Okay, the other thing, if you take a look at the assignment, all right, this is a letter, and the formatting, the correct formatting is located on Appendix B, page B4, all right, not B1. B1 is an email. B4 is the letter. All right, you're using a full block letter style. That's pretty much what businesses are using today, a full block. Very rarely do people use a modified block with indenting. That takes too much time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any questions? Make sure you post those questions in the Q&A discussion forum. Okay, the Q&A, so that's where all of your questions should go, so that other people in the class should be able to help you. No other questions? I enjoy the weekend. Should be a lovely day today and Sunday. Tomorrow, Sunday is not going to be so wonderful, but at least enjoy the weekend. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.